What if I told you one of the most infamous serial killers in history wasn't a monster hiding in shadows, but a man who smiled, studied law, and convinced people he was harmless? A man who used charm as a weapon. Hello, I'm Light, and today, we're diving into the disturbing story of Ted Bundy, the killer who proved that sometimes the most dangerous predators don't look dangerous at all. Let's get into it. The 1970s were a different time in America. College campuses were expanding. Trust between strangers felt normal. People didn't assume the worst. Ted Bundy understood that. He was born Theodore Robert Bundy in 1946. His early life was complicated. He grew up believing his grandparents were his parents. Later, he discovered the truth about his birth. That confusion around identity would become a quiet theme in his life. Bundy wasn't socially awkward like many serial killers. He wasn't isolated in the traditional sense. He studied psychology. He volunteered at a crisis hotline. He worked on political campaigns. He knew how to blend in. But beneath that surface, something darker was forming. In the early 1970s, young women in Washington and Oregon began disappearing. College students, many with similar physical traits, long dark hair, parted in the middle. Witnesses described a polite, well-spoken man approaching women in public places. He sometimes wore a fake cast or sling, pretending to be injured. T would ask for help carrying books or loading something into his car. He looked vulnerable. He looked safe. That was the trap. Once victims got close enough, he would overpower them and take them away. His crimes weren't impulsive. They were planned. He would revisit crime scenes. He kept items belonging to victims. He inserted himself into investigations by listening closely to news reports. He wasn't just killing. He was performing control. As disappearances spread across states, Washington, Utah, Colorado, law enforcement struggled to connect the dots. Communication between states wasn't what it is today. Bundy used that gap. In 1975, he was arrested in Utah for kidnapping. Police found suspicious items in his car: handcuffs, rope, a crowbar. He was convicted and sent to prison. That should have been the end. It wasn't. In 1977, Bundy escaped from jail. Not once, twice. The second time, he fled to Florida. And what happened next would become one of the most horrifying chapters in American crime history. In January 1978, Bundy entered the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. Within minutes, he attacked multiple women. 2 were murdered. Others were severely injured. The violence was fast, brutal, chaotic. He didn't stop there. He killed again shortly after. Soon after, he was finally captured for good. But what made Bundy different wasn't just the scale of his crimes. It was his courtroom presence. T chose to represent himself at trial. He cross-examined witnesses. T smiled for cameras. Some people watching were disturbed. Others were fascinated. That fascination is part of what makes this case uncomfortable even today. Bundy didn't look like the stereotype people had for a serial killer. He wasn't visibly unstable. He wasn't socially alienated. He looked like someone you might trust. And that illusion shattered people's assumptions. During his final interviews before execution, Bundy attempted to blame pornography for influencing his violence. Many experts rejected that explanation. What stood out more clearly were traits of narcissism, manipulation, and lack of empathy. He compartmentalized his life. He could be charming in conversation and monstrous in action. Control, fantasy, power. Those themes defined him. In 1989, Ted Bundy was executed in Florida. By then, He had confessed to 30 murders. Investigators believe the real number may be higher. His name became synonymous with the idea that evil can wear a friendly face. Mining. Here's the part that matters. Bundy thrived on trust. He didn't force entry most of the time. He didn't appear threatening. He used politeness, sympathy, authority. He understood something deeply unsettling. People want to believe other people are good. He weaponized that belief. This case isn't just about violence. It's about perception. It's about how easily we can misjudge danger based on appearance. Bundy wasn't a criminal mastermind in the way fiction portrays villains. He made mistakes. He left evidence. He got caught. But he understood human psychology. He knew how to create a version of himself that disarmed suspicion. And that's what makes his story endure decades later. Not because he was brilliant, but because he exposed a flaw in how we define monsters. We expect them to look broken. We expect them to look unstable. We expect to see warning signs, but sometimes the warning sign is charisma. Ted Bundy shattered the myth that evil is obvious. He proved it can smile at you first. This was the case of Ted Bundy, a man who didn't hide in darkness. He walked in daylight. And people let him in, says the Light Files. I'm Light, and I'll see you in the next video. It's with another case that reminds us that danger doesn't always announce itself. Until then, stay aware.